So we talk about how the Clippers can bounce back next season, which is very easily for them to do because if you look at the team they have, you look at how they're constructed as a team that's built to win a championship now. And unless another team, or other teams out there in the NBA form super teams where they have big threes and big fours and all this stuff like that, which is garbage to me. But at the same time, the Clippers have an opportunity to bounce back next season and play even better than what they did this season. Now, you look at this year, they ended up in the 4th seed at the end of the season going into the playoffs. Next year, if they're healthy, I think they can actually, find themselves as the best team in the NBA, in the number 1 seed. They could bounce back very, very well. They could bounce back in a way that they didn't play this past season, and it all is pretty much, comes down to health. When you look at the Clippers, health was their Achilles heel. I mean, the whole season they were plagued by injuries. And you could say that for a lot of teams, but a lot of teams weren't in the position or didn't have the opportunity the Clippers had. The Clippers had an opportunity to win a championship, and they're built for a championship now. When you look at the fact that Serge Ibaka has been out pretty much most of the season, and they managed to still stay in 4th place, even with Kawhi Leonard going out some. I think a couple other players going out. PG was out a couple of games. Even still, they still managed to find themselves at the top seeds in the West, in the 4th seed. They could have had the 3rd seed if they didn't let go of the last 2 games of the season. They still found themselves as a top 3 team in the West, and that's pretty hard to do with injuries to players of those calibers. When you lose a Paul George for 4 or 5 games in a season, that can hurt. When you lose Kawhi for several games and in the playoffs, that really, 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 really hurts. And, the fact they didn't have Serge Ibaka, a lot of people might not have looked at that as a big loss because they didn't have him most of the season. It doesn't really matter. Serge Ibaka is a champion. Serge Ibaka has won, in this league. He's been a winner. He's been, on championship teams, of course, and he knows what it's like to go through the motions of a season and be the last man standing. He's been on the team like that. He's been on a team where he's been in the finals. He's been in multiple finals. So you can't say that Serge Ibaka wasn't, an afterthought. He was definitely a piece that they needed to get over the hump. And I personally think, if they had Serge Ibaka in that series versus the Phoenix Suns, I think that series is a whole lot different because Serge Ibaka is one player who can stretch the floor and one player that's a threat out there at all times. Plus, he's a threat defensively still. So, a lot of things would change when you have a player like him in the lineup. So, it's when you're missing players of those calibers, you can find yourself where the Lakers were, in the play-in tournament. But the Clippers held strong. They held strong and they played to their best ability. And they were in the 3rd seed for the most part. And they just ended up in the 4th seed, like I said, because they elected to let go of 2 games at the end of the season that they clearly could have won if they actually played. But, health is more important than anything else. Ty Lue has stressed that, so, it's no need to question that there. But, the confidence I have in this team going into next season, if they stay together, is tremendous because this team right here, not only they showed a lot of resilience and a lot of grit, when you look at how they play and how they, feed off of one another, especially the way they did in the playoffs. It wasn't looking good for them in every series they were in. It's not one series they played in that they looked like the better team. And they really didn't because they were down in every series. So when you're down 0-2 or 0-3 in 0-2 in every series, you're really not, you don't look like the better team. You're not playing like the better team. And the crazy thing is when you look at the team, they rallied to show everybody and to show themselves that they're good enough to be, a championship team. And they're confident enough that they can get there and win it all. So when you look at the totality of the team and the nucleus of the team, they have what it takes to win. Now, does Kawhi Leonard want to come back? I hope so. Are they going to keep Paul George? I hope so. I hope they keep Reggie Jackson as well, because to me, those are their 3 core players, 1, 2, and 3. And, if you have those 3 core players, you have a shot at winning an NBA championship. And that's just the way it is. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether the team is healthy in the West next year. If the Clippers come back the way they were and the way they're constructed now, they are going to be a juggernaut team, pending on health, of course. But I mean, this is a team that we really have to, give credit to of what they've done this season and everything like that. But at the same time, like I said, I think their bounce back will be really, really good, really strong. And I think a lot of people going in the next season, when the season starts, they're going to have a little bit more respect for the Clippers and what they're able to do and how they're able to, be a resilient team. So, if we see them down in the playoffs, down 0-1 or 0-2 next season, nobody's going to panic the way they did this season, because the Clippers have shown it's almost like they got the team right where they want them when they're down 0-2. So, I mean, hopefully that doesn't continue. But, I mean, still, they have a good enough roster to, go win it all. And we know that. Now, I will say this. There's probably going to be some off-season trades, of course, some different faces on the Clippers going forward next season. But whatever trades they make, they better be worth it, because I don't think when you look at this team now, even though you can point out a piece here and there, like maybe a Rondo or, maybe if you're not a fan of Luke Kennard or something like that, it doesn't matter. You can point out any piece on this team. Everyone on the team contributed in the playoffs. And that's really, really tough to say, because a lot of teams don't have that. Don't have that way about them. Ty Lue pretty much played almost every man on that bench at some point in the playoffs. And the fact that everybody contributed or felt like they was a part of the team and contributed to the success that they had, it really should motivate this team to come back even better than what they were this year. And like I said, if they could find a way to keep everybody on the team healthy and ready to go during the season and get ready for the playoffs next year, we'll have to see exactly what this team can do. But I think we have a pretty good idea of what they can do. So the only thing is they have to go out and do it, and they have to be healthy enough to do it. And that's pretty much, what resides with that. Because when you look at how the Clippers can play in certain instances of a game, they're really explosive. They're probably the most explosive team in the NBA, probably besides the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, because you've seen the Clippers in these playoffs down 0-2 in a game 3, down 30-11 in the opposing team's house, and came back and won that game. That's how explosive they are. That's how much firepower they have, and that's how much good players they have. They have a lot of good pieces, and really the thing that I was really impressed by the Clippers more than anything, when you looked at them in the playoffs, when their backs were against the wall, it looked like their pieces fit. It looked like all of them gelled at the right time and played together with the right sense of urgency. And everybody was all on one accord, one page, and if they're going to play like that, and if they have that mentality with Ty Lue going forward, and like I said, there again, if they keep the team together, it's another year of experience and camaraderie that they have together going into another season, knowing how close they got and knowing they were an injury, 1 or 2 injuries away from being in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, when you see the opportunity that they had, and if the Clippers are smart and they notice the opportunity that they had to get to the finals, which they were very, very close to getting to, then it's no reason why they shouldn't run it back. It's no reason why. I mean, like I said, there may be a couple new faces next year on the Clippers. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm not exactly a fan of, trading any player right now, because to me, like I said, if you let every player on that bench pretty much play in the playoffs to help, these comebacks the Clippers had in all the series they played in, every man contributed, every man touched the ball, every man was pretty much on the court at some point in time due to injury. Well, you have to bring a team like that back, because there's a unity that they have in the locker room that other teams don't have. Because most teams in the playoffs are playing an 8-9 man rotation, and that's pretty much it. But Ty Lue let all the dogs out. He put all of them on the floor due to injury. Even without injury, I mean, I seen Luke Kennard and them came on. A lot of other players, they were getting a lot of run even before Kawhi got hurt and things like that. This is my point. Like, they played together as a team, and Ty Lue trusts every player on that team. And when you have trust in every player on your roster, you need to keep that roster, because it's hard to bring in another player who you might not have so much trust in that you had with the player you had the previous year before. So like if they actually traded a Marcus Morris or a Luke Kennard, yeah, it would be good if they get somebody else equivalent in return. But the only problem is, will that person fit with the team the way Marcus Morris and Luke Kennard did, or Rajon Rondo, or, somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? You have to look at little things like that, because little things like that go a long way. Now, it would be another year that they're all together, like I said, and they all understand what it is to be in tough situations. So now their mentality, their camaraderie, their chemistry, their thought process is going to be different when they go into the playoffs next year. If they go into the playoff next year with this same team, I guarantee you they're not going to be down 0-2 probably any series, because they're going to probably be up 2-0 most series, because they're just going to remember what it's like to be down in the trenches and make their way out. But now they got the formula to execute better and play with more control by seeing the mistakes they made this past year in the playoffs to help them going forward. And that's exactly what the Clippers need to do. And like I said, to run it back, they're going to need everybody that they have now, because like I said, everybody has bought into what Ty Lue is trying to teach. Everybody on that roster has, and you could tell by what you saw in the playoffs. So they need to come back with the same energy and the same team along with the same mindset, because like I said, if everybody bought into what Ty Lue is selling, the team is going to get far in the playoffs if they're healthy. It's just no question. And like I said, with a player like Kawhi Leonard, if he comes back, of course, you always have a chance. You always in title contention. You're always a contender when you have a player like Kawhi Leonard. Damn what the media says. They don't know what they're talking about. They try to diminish Kawhi Leonard's greatness, but it's no greatness to be diminished. The man has been great for years. He's been great when he got in this league. He won a Finals MVP when he first came to the league with the San Antonio Spurs in his second season. Not many players have won a championship in their first 5 seasons. He won one in his second or third season coming into the NBA. Stopping LeBron, in the finals, playing really, really great defense on LeBron James to win a Finals MVP, averaging, I think, less than 20 points a game in the NBA Finals and still win the Finals MVP. That's overly impressive. Then he goes to Toronto and win his own championship with his own team just to prove to everybody he's not a system player. So, when you look at a player like him, adding with a Paul George who can play, who has shown that he can be playoff P, and who has shown that, he can play and make, he can have big moments in the playoffs. He's shown that he can do that, especially this year. But, he just, he could be a little more efficient, but still, he's shown that he can play. And he's always been a really, really good player. And so no need to discredit him there. And then you look at Reggie Jackson, really, really great player. Really, really good player, excuse me. And he looked great in the playoffs. So, I'm torn between the two, based upon what I saw. And then you add a Marcus Morris who can show up when he need to. But, of course, the Clippers need a little more consistency out of him. But they have something there. And to be honest, that Nicholas Batum pickup they did last year was really, really impressive, because Nicholas Batum is really, really has shown that he is a vital piece to what they're trying to accomplish. And that's really good there. And like I said, you got Serge Ibaka, you got Boogie, Cousins, you got a good backup point guard in Beverly, and Rondo. The pieces are there, so it's up to them. But hey, like I said, if you want to bounce back season, bring everybody back and have everybody ready to go, and have everybody with one mentality: championship only. And that's my take on the situation. But let me know what you think in the comment section about anything I've discussed today. And we can go ahead and talk about it as always. Cali out.